So again, welcome to everybody to our Power Platform user group, and you can see all the information on our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Meetup. So we are here with you each and every Wednesday. And today I'm hosting. Next week, Christian will be hosting again. And all of the recordings can be seen later on our YouTube channel. Also, as we are heading to vacation after next week, and we are back in September with Data Jazzers again. So Nicola and myself and Alberto Ferrari is joining us September 11th, so stay tuned. More info will come as we're closing to that. Also, what will happen in user groups? So next week, Bernat is with us, and this will be the last session before summer break. And then in September, Eric Svensson and David Eldersfeld are confirmed for now. So looking forward to see those things. And yeah, I have a typo on the slide, but okay. And today it's a pleasure. So Ben will be with us talking about Power BI mobile apps, and then we were catching up back and forth to get this session on. So it's really nice to have you here.
That's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here.
So stage is yours if you want to take over the screen. I'm recording everything.
Brilliant. Okay, so that should be my screen shared.
It's visible.
That's visible. Yeah, that's good enough. All right. Well, let's start a little PowerPoint then, and let's talk about an intro to Power BI mobile. So first of all, thank you very much for asking me along. I know you've been busy. You're about, I think, to go on vacation. I've just been on vacation and drove past Strasbourg. I think you're in Strasbourg, aren't you? Last week.
Stuttgart. It's just basically 1 hour drive, so it's close.
Yeah, well, I drove from the whole of Austria, or from Austria, through Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium, and France in one day. So I reckon I'd probably pass by you somewhere along that way.
Probably.
Yeah, big day, big day. But there we go. Maybe I should have just stayed over. Anyway, so I'm going to cover off a little bit in the next 3/4 of an hour. I won't keep you too long. Just about Microsoft Power BI mobile, and specifically the mobile app, because I think there's a lot of people who think you can just use it to view some reports, or people who don't use it at all, but there's a little more to it than that. So a little bit about myself, so you know where I'm coming from. I've been a Microsoft MVP for 13 years. Plainly, Power BI hasn't been around for 13 years. I'm actually a project MVP. So that's what I spent many years doing before I got interested in data visualization. I've worked for myself for the last probably, well, over 13 years, so probably 15, 16 years now. I just run a consultancy, and I go out and I deploy Microsoft Power BI for organizations. I develop reports. I help organizations understand their data. Really, that's what I'm about. That's what we're all about, isn't it? As part of that. And additionally, because of that, I end up doing quite a bit of training. And because of that, I ended up writing some courses for Pluralsight. So I've got some good courses on Pluralsight around both project and Power BI. Feel free to follow me or email me. So, you know, if there's got any specific questions, just ping me a mail, ben@applepark.co.uk, and I'll do my best just to get back to you. And I'm on LinkedIn if people want to connect up. So that's kind of my background and what I do. I'm very much these days just focused on Power BI and data. Okay, so the Power BI mobile app, I'm going to talk about and demo, really, this will be demo heavy once we've got some basics out of the way. 5 key areas. One is, you know, data caching in the mobile app, and that's, can't show you much about that. I can just kind of make you aware as to what it can be doing. Talk about collaboration, because of course collaboration is a key tenant or a key pillar of today's, modern work. I'm not going to get too Microsofty with too many Microsoft either acronyms or focuses, but we know that modern work is changing, and collaboration's a key part of that. A couple of features then that are available in the Power BI mobile app are geolocation and barcode scanning. So I'll demo both of those and show you how those work. And you can then think, if you're watching this either live or you're watching on YouTube, you can begin to think about the scenarios that you might have in your organization where you could use, either of those features might be useful. And then QR codes, of course, come up, and we'll show you, kind of how you can use QR codes to quickly direct people at reports. So that's what we're going to cover off. How do we handle, Augustine, how do we handle questions? Do people just ask questions in the chat, and I should keep an eye on the chat?
I'll let you know if there are any questions in the chat.
You'll let me know. Brilliant. Top man. Sorry about that. We should have talked about that earlier on.
No problem.
No worries. All right. Just stop me if there's anything that we need to talk about. Okay. So Power BI mobile apps, as you would expect, of course, there's a mobile app for anything beginning with an I. So iPhones, iPads, I believe even iWatches, although I'm not an iPhone person, not an Apple person, so I never really played with any of those devices. But what that allows you to do, of course, is utilize a mobile layout that you create on iPhones, and not specifically not iPads, because iPads are big enough that they don't really need to be optimized for a mobile layout. So when we talk about developing reports for mobile, then we talk about optimizing that report to view it on a small form factor device. So obviously, if we've got anything beginning with an I, then of course we've got anything made by, or anything that's running an Android, Google operating system, so Android phones and tablets. And again, if you're using a mobile or a cell phone, then you've got the ability to use the optimized view on that cell phone. It's worth pointing out that there was Windows 10 support until March last year. So that's about, 16 months or so ago. Microsoft cut their mobile or Power BI mobile app for Windows. So that's disappeared. We've really just got the two platforms now going forward. Okay. So obviously, how do we get hold of this? You go to your favorite app store and you download it on your device, and I'll do a demo of that later on. Okay, so this was the view of the world last year. Okay, so this is how we used to view reports using the mobile app, prior to a recent-ish release, which arrived in 2022. So we take our Power BI report, of course, that we create on the desktop, we publish up to app.powerbi.com. We can then view that report on something like a tablet, so that's great in the usual way, and that tablet will begin to understand rotation, so that's fine as well. If we go to a mobile phone, then again, we can view those reports on a mobile phone, and they will rotate, and they will all be well and good. However, we did have something where if you wanted to have a view that was not optimized, so you didn't optimize your report for a small form factor device, then we couldn't view that report in portrait mode. So we talk about portrait mode and landscape mode. So that's the last point here, is that if I've got optimized views, I can see them, okay, here and here. So they've been, those views have been optimized for mobile devices. If we had a report which didn't have an optimized view and we tried to view that in portrait mode, then that view would fail. Microsoft then changed that in a recent release of the Power BI mobile application. And what they now allow you to do is pinch and zoom on a report so that you can zoom in and out of that report in portrait mode. Okay, so you might still see, certainly I've got a course on Pluralsight, which hasn't been updated yet to talk about this. Okay, so the new scenario, if you like, or the new usability just allows you to pinch and zoom as you would normally expect to do. Okay, so that's the mobile app. You know, that's how we view reports on a mobile app, exactly the same way as you would view something effectively in a browser. Now, of course, the mobile app is mobile. And so, you know, we need to think about how we get data on that mobile app, how we get those reports and how we view the reports. So over on the left-hand side, of course, we've got our mobile device. We've got some sort of data connection that is connecting up, and we've authenticated against our Power BI service. So that's all well and good. What will happen is that the Power BI app will cache 250 megabytes worth of data. Okay, so when it goes and loads up the report, it caches that report in the phone cache. Okay, and what that means is that if we then go offline, either because we're sitting on an airplane, but we still want to look at our Power BI report, or we're working in an environment where there is no either Wi-Fi access or 3G access, so that can happen in various commercial plants, commercial sites. It can happen if you're on an oil rig on the North Sea, and believe me, I've been there. You know, so sometimes you just can't get hold of the data. So what happens then, of course, is Power BI says, hey, there's no network, and it uses the cached data. The question is, what does it cache? Okay, so you can still get your data. It caches basically your favorite dashboards and any dashboard and report that you've viewed in the last 2 weeks. Okay, so even though you may be out of the office, you might have run for a plane first thing of the morning, that you've probably got an up-to-date report so long as you've favorited or viewed it in the last couple of weeks. Okay, when does this refresh happen? Assuming that we have Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi will refresh every 2 hours. So if you've left for the office or you've left for the airport at 8 in the morning, then and your phone's been at home on Wi-Fi, then it'll have refreshed at least at 6 a.m. that morning. So you're going to have a fairly up-to-date set of data. If you don't have Wi-Fi and you're on 3G, then that's going to, by again, default to refresh every 24 hours. Okay. So the point about having the mobile app on your device is that you're pretty guaranteed to have a good quality of data, not necessarily all of the latest data, but a good quality, a good set of it. Obviously, this isn't going to work for live query or anything like that. It's got to be import. The data set's got to be import mode because, of course, it's downloading it and storing it offline. So that's the caveat there. Okay, so there's a few things, there's a few bits of value that we get using the mobile app. The other thing that we should at least talk about, but I'm not going to stress too much, is that we should think about, when we create a report, designing for mobile. Okay, you can see the size of my screen here. It's, you know, it's a normal 16:9 portion screen. It's fairly big. I can see lots of things on it. Okay, but when we design for mobile, often what we do is we start from our standard report that is always in landscape mode, and then we should think about, okay, how do I want to see that report in portrait mode? And do I want to see, does it make sense on a small form factor device? So I only have a smallish, you know, I don't have a big high iPhone or tablet. This is just an old Samsung. This is my day-to-day device, and plainly I'm not going to see the same amount of data and the same quality on here that I'm going to see on the big monitor, or even the big 3 monitors that are sitting in front of me. So think about, when we're designing for mobile, what is the most important information that I'm going to put on a device that's this size. Okay, and you might use all of the existing visuals, although I don't expect you would, or you might just use a subset of the existing visuals, which I kind of expect you might. The other thing that you may begin to think about or should think about is you should review which visuals work well for, you know, touch or portrait. So some of them don't. If you've got a big slicer effectively, and it's dropping down, you know, 20 or 30 items or even 100 items, and you're trying to do that on a phone like this, and you're using a select button, that's not the best way to do it. Okay, but displaying a set of buttons would be the better way to do it. So we need to again think about what is the design experience, what's the user experience rather that my users are going to face. Can they get as good an experience out of a device like this as they would out of a full screen? That also might mean that, you know, we could go and adapt some existing visuals. We might replace existing visuals. Okay, by adapt, I mean, you know, I might change a filter from being dropped down to buttons, because buttons work really well with your finger. We might replace existing visuals, which again, we could click on to present the data better, or we might create new ones. Okay, so an example of this might be, you know, and you'll see this sort of Power BI report. But if we were to look here at the slicer, where I'm dropping something down, and typically I'd use a mouse to go and select one or more of those items, we might think about replacing it with a set of buttons instead, something that's much easier to touch. Okay, so that's the sort of thing that I think about when I think about, you know, how am I going to design something for mobile? The other thing that you might do, and again, I've done this, is when we design for mobile and when we create our mobile optimized view, we are limited to the visualizations that we've already put on the screen. So sometimes I'll put additional visualizations on the screen, but I will hide them behind an existing visual. So I could have this set of buttons on the screen, okay, but I might hide it behind this visual. What that allows me to do then in the mobile optimized view is use this set of buttons, and I don't need to use this set of buttons. Okay, so there's a few tips and tricks that you can begin to utilize when you begin to design things for mobile. Okay, so that's kind of a design point. I don't have any massive demos on that at all. Rather, this is just a kind of, it's a concept you need to think. If I'm going to design for mobile, then I'm going to need to think about what mobile devices people have. Do they have iPads generally? You know, if you're working in a supermarket and you're in retail and you're in that environment and you're walking around the shop floor, quite often you'll have iPads. If you're doing something else, maybe you just have a mobile phone. I don't know. Anyway, you need to think about what device you have. In terms of specific features then that the mobile app gives us, there's really 4 of them. The first is the ability to socialize reports. And again, that's about collaboration, isn't it? So how do I take a report and easily mark that up, write some information on it, and socialize it with people? The second item that I have, or that we have, is geographical filtering, right? On a mobile device, it knows where I am. And therefore, if we've got geolocated or geolocation device information in our report, then we can automatically filter for that geolocation. We've got a camera on every device, and therefore we've got the ability to scan barcodes. Okay, so we can scan barcodes, and our mobile device will scan QR codes. But generally Power BI what we can do in Power BI is we can generate some QR codes, which are a quick way of taking us to a report. Okay, whereas a barcode, you'll see later on, I might use to scan some information about, in my case, a product, but it could be about an asset or something else like that. And then, yeah, favorites, I've just put that down. Don't do anything on favorites. You're already aware, if you mark something as a favorite, then it gets cached to your phone. Okay, let's talk about socializing reports. So commenting, annotating, and sharing a report or visual. So we can take a snapshot of a tile, report or visual. We'll demo that. We can add some comments to that. We can handwrite it. We can type it in. We can put some emojis on there. We can begin to send all of that little lot via our mobile devices sharing options. So whatever they might be, it could be, let's drop this into Dropbox. Let's send it via WhatsApp. Let's put it on Twitter, you know, whatever you want to do. Effectively, all we're doing is taking that screenshot. Okay, so let's go and demo that, because I think that's a good time to take a quick break out of here. Okay, so let me go and this up. So this should allow you to see my phone when we connect my phone up. So just bear with me a moment. So Smart View, that finds that. There we go. So you can see this is my Galaxy. What did it say? It was an S8. Okay, and this is my real phone. So you see everything I see. I've had this phone for a couple of years, so it's not the fastest, it's not the smartest. You can see kind of what I get up to, but this is live. Now it is working off my Wi-Fi, as both things are, so hopefully it will work okay. So I scroll through, of course, I've got the Power BI app on my phone. So let me just click on there, or hit it with my finger. Let's just come back out of here. Let's go back into the main screen. So it takes me back to where I was, but I'll click on the home at the bottom. Okay. So we can do a couple of things here. One is we can just turn this to be horizontal. As I flick this round, and then I'll turn it back to be vertical, and you should see that go vertically. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. So let's just go and have a look, a quick intro to this. So at the top, I've got quick access. I've got some, come back to me. There we go. I've got metrics. I've got activity. You've got all the normal sort of thing that you would expect to see in Power BI. I've got access to the camera at the top right there and a search button. And then across the middle here, I've got frequents. And then below that, I've got recents. And then I've got recommended. So you get to see all of the data that you can normally see. Right at the bottom, with the little tabs on there, I've got the home tab. I can see my favorites, apps, okay, then workspaces, and I've got a little more button which we'll come on to as well. Okay, so let me just go into, I've got quite a few workspaces on here. You'll recognize some of them, of course, from standard things, but I'll go into this one called presentations. Okay, a couple of things just to note here. I'm going to get rid of this discover what's new in Power BI. So I'm going to click on the little X near the top. Okay, so that's gone. So we've got reports, of course, and then we've got dashboards. Okay, so I've only got one dashboard. If I click under reports, you'll see that I've got, going from the top bottom, I've got barcodes, a report called non-optimized report, and one called sales data. The icons to the left, the Power BI icon, if you like, the one for barcodes has a little mobile phone next to it, as does the one for sales data. They're both purple. That little icon tells me that at least some of the pages in that report have been optimized for mobile visualization. The non-optimized report doesn't have an icon on there. So what that means is somebody's published that report and they've not optimized anything for mobile. Okay, let's go and have a look at the sales data piece. Oh, hello. Turn the camera on, sorry. Let's go and have a look at the sales data. Okay, so this is just going to load up this report. Again, at the top, it says add a shortcut to this report on your device home screen. I'm going to get rid of that because I don't want to do that. Okay. We'll come back to this. What I want to talk about now is, maybe I've seen something on this page which I think is quite nice. So I'll click on the three ellipses at the top. Okay, so there's a couple of things that we can do on here. Straight away, I can begin to share this report. So that will just share a link to this report. Okay, and you can see that, you know, I've got all of the socials and all of the ways that I would normally send things. It just uses exactly what's in the phone. So I'm going to get rid of that. And what I really wanted to do was look at the menu along the bottom. Okay, so I can go and have a look. I've got all of the functionality plus more that really we have in the desktop, or not in the desktop, in the full browser version. So I've got bookmarks, comments, I've got the ability to reset filters, I've got pages, and again, if I click on more, you can see I've got geo-filter and invite and annotate. Well, actually, I think I might like this and I might want to annotate and socialize this. So I'm going to click on annotate. Okay, so what that does is effectively it takes me a screenshot of this. I can begin to write on here. So let's just choose the blue and I'll just say hi. Okay, we could do some other things such as put some smiley faces on here. So let's just have a white smiley face and we'll stick that on the orange there. Or I could type. So I've got the ability just to type in here and we could just pick up, you know, hello. Or could you comment on this, or could you do something else that's, you know, that's relatively useful? Okay, so we can take a screenshot, effectively annotate that screenshot, share it. Again, I've got an eraser on there and I can reset that. But again, by using at the top right, the share icon, then I can share this with people. So let me just put this in Outlook. And then I'm going to send that to myself, just so that you can see what that looks like. Nothing like a real life demo here. So here we go. And click on the send button at the top right. And that will kind of disappear to me. Okay, that's going to come in my inbox, hopefully pretty quickly. So I'll come back out of there and we will come out of here. And I'm just going to now open up Outlook, which of course I stopped, didn't I? Because I'm doing a demo. So I thought, right, I don't want Outlook opening up all the time. And then I forgot. So I'm just opening up Outlook. It's going to open up on the other screen. I'm going to pick up some emails here. And it'll take 30 seconds to do that. Nothing like a fast PC. I don't have. I'm just going to check out the chat here. Nothing too much in the chat. Okay, here it is. Ignore that little lot. And just double click on this one and move that up there. So here's the email that effectively I've just sent myself from my mobile phone. So you see it's just got that image on there. Again, that's going to open up on another page. Let's bring that over there. So that's the screenshot I sent. So again, you can imagine a scenario. CEO of a company, I look at my data, I see something important before I travel into the office. If we're commuting into the office, I can annotate it, take a quick screenshot, get somebody to begin to action that information, send it by email or however we want to. And of course, we've got the relevant links in the email, which if we clicked on there would take us directly to the Power BI report. Okay, so that's kind of how that collaboration piece works. Okay, so far so good? I hope so. Okay, so let's talk about the next bit, filtering by geographic location. So I've already mentioned if we create geolocated data, or we mark data as being geographic, then we can apply a filter to that data. And, you know, it might be country, region, state, province, city, postcode, zip code, whatever Bing can use for its geolocation, you can use here. Okay. You've got to use one of the locations of the data set plainly. We've got to mark that. And of course, we've got to be using a mobile device. And, you know, one of the things that Power BI will ask you the app is, you know, can the Power BI app access your location? That's a big thing for me. I tend not to give a lot of information away to the likes of Facebook and Google and even Microsoft. So I tend to try and tie things down, but this is one of the things that you're going to have to begin to open up. Okay, so let's go and have a look at this filtering by geographic location. So again, we'll open up Connect, and we'll go and connect my mobile phone to this. I should have just really left it connected before. That comes onto there. This actually works very well if you are demoing any mobile phone apps. These work quite well. Let's go into the sales data. Okay. So before we do the geolocation, I'm just going to show you something else. At the top to the right of sales data, there's a little down arrow, and below there it says summary 2 of 6. So this gives me the pages that we've got. I'm going to click on the down arrow, and it shows me where this sales data is. This sales data report. It's just dummy data, of course, as you'd expect. So it's in a report called sales data. I'm looking at page 2. If you have a look at page 3, sales general, again, that's got a little mobile phone next to it. So that one is optimized for mobile view, okay, or for a mobile view. So I'm going to go back to the summary, and at the bottom it says rotate your device to view the report in landscape. So if I rotate my device again, you see that's rotated, then I can view the report in landscape mode. And as you'd expect, I have all of the relevant functionality. So at the lower left, we've got sales by country column chart. I'm just going to click on France, and all of the interactivity that you'd expect in Power BI kind of just works. Okay, I'm going to rotate this back to portrait mode now. So that's back into portrait mode. And this is where I can now pinch and zoom. So if I wanted to, I could pinch in and zoom into, you know, the report, and that's what happens. You know, we weren't able to do that prior to a recent release of Power BI, okay, or the Power BI app, but now I can pinch and zoom, and that's okay. Let me go to Sales General though, the third page, okay, and you can see that has a completely different look and feel, right? So at the top, I've just got some cards, and I've got that, you know, push button, so I can go and select Germany on the slicer, etc., and the other visualizations change accordingly. Okay, if I now move this into landscape mode, okay, you'll see it's a completely different look and feel. So this Sales General has been optimized for portrait mode. Okay, I didn't have a demo on that, but I kind of will briefly show you how you do that whilst we look at the filtering. Okay, but the point is we've got some filtering on here. Okay, and again, if we look towards the bottom, I've got more, and then at the bottom left there, I've got a little filter called geo-filter. If you hadn't picked it up already, I'm based in the United Kingdom, and so I'm going to click on geo-filter, and it's going to say, hey Ben, where do you want to filter? So I'm going to say, right, I'm only going to filter on the United Kingdom. Okay, and then I'm getting sales just for the United Kingdom, and we can see the values of those sales of that standard sales data. Okay, so that's for geo filter. Let me switch that back off and go for all locations. So that's quite neat. How do we set that up? Okay, let's go back into Power BI, and it's down here. Just minimize that. Okay, it was down there. There we go. So this is the Power BI report that drives that report. Okay, so what have we got in here? Ultimately, under sales, I've got a country. And for country, you can see that I've given it a data category. Okay, and that's what you have to do. That country, of course, as you know, contains United Kingdom, Spain, France, Germany, Ireland. So that's what you need to do. You've got to have a piece of data, column of data in your data set that recognizes, is categorized as a value, as a geo categorization. Okay, and that's all you really need to do to get that to work. That works pretty nicely. In terms of just the sales general page, that was the one which was optimized for mobile access. If we have a look under the view here, view button, view tab, then I've got the ability to create a mobile layout. So if I look at that mobile layout, you can see what I've done is I've dragged various cards, etc., from the page over here. And when you just drag them onto the mobile layout and format them, you know, as you wish. Okay, so you don't really want to be going and putting everything on here. Okay, but you want enough to make the mobile design, the mobile layout, the portrait view useful to your users. Okay, so that's how you end up doing that. Okay, so that's that geolocation done. It just got, yep, that would be that. Fine. Hopefully, if you've never done that, you can think of maybe, you know, maybe you do have a scenario where you could implement that in an organization, either, you know, sales data, I think about it as house price data, or anywhere where you've got geographic location, you've got somebody who's out with a mobile device, and, you know, this just provides a nice way of them filtering based upon their location without anybody having to think too much about it. Barcodes and QR codes. Okay, so take barcodes first of all. What we're able to do is use the mobile phone and the camera that exists on every mobile phone today to scan a barcode and to use that scan to again filter on the report. Again, this is all set up in the desktop app, so we'll have a look at how we set that up. In terms of QR codes, we use QR codes to provide access to a report or a tile on the dashboard. Okay, so you might have seen this, and again, we'll demo it quite quickly. But then what you do is you print the QR code out, stick it on a wall, or you send it around in an email, or you put it on a website, or you put it on your business card, or something like that, as we all know that you can do. And then when we scan that, you know, we're taken to the appropriate either tile or report. These are created in the service. Okay, so I've got some slides on here, but this is just effectively the demo that I've got here, where I've got a little table with a product and a product image. Actually, the images that I'm looking at now, these images were 64-bit encoded images when I took this screenshot, and that allows you to store them in the Power BI file. So long as they're publicly available, so long as they're available on the web, then you can put in the URL for the web. But the important bit here is this last bit, which says barcode. Okay, so that's the barcode number. I've had a lot of success with this on 13-digit barcodes. I know there are different barcode standards, if you like. But the important thing is that barcode is set up as a barcode. Okay, so that's how I categorize that data. It's categorized as a barcode. Okay, so look at that. We'll go and have a look at the setup first of all. Okay, so this is again my Power BI report. Fairly simple. If we have a look at the data here, products. Okay, I've got a very simple table with the barcode in there, a price, description, size, and an image URL. So here is where I'm just using some images just shared on Dropbox. If you are doing this on Dropbox, just notice at the end here that it says raw equals 1. That just allows the image to be opened outside of kind of the Dropbox Chrome environment. Okay, so that's all I've got here. Nothing too sexy about that. I've got this report and I've published it. Okay, so let's go and have a look at that report. Now go and have a look at it again on the laptop. So let's just, my laptop on mobile phone. So let's just connect up with Smart View here. Okay, that's okay. We're connected. Power BI, of course, come out of our sales data. Okay, and I'm going to go into this first report, which is called barcodes. Okay, so I've only got a couple of pages on here. Let me just scroll up. The first page really just gives the first visualization. The top visualization is an image viewer. Okay, just a visual you can go and download and install. The second item that just says cherry tomatoes is a card that just displays the first item. Okay, so it's just selecting the first item from the report, from what's returned, if you like. And then the next card is the price, and at the moment it's given the sum of everything. So £5.02 is the sum of each of those products. Okay, but you'll see at the bottom now, I've also got a barcode icon at the bottom left, barcode. So let me click on that, and what will happen is you'll see my camera. Okay, this is where I'm presenting on a couple of screens. Okay, and over here I've got some products. Okay, this is my desk and it's a mess, and I apologize for that, but I went and got these products out of my cupboard today and just put them in. So anybody who's a bit smart will work out where I shop. So this is tomato passata. It's Italian. It's probably from Aldi, and somewhere on there, bloody hell, that was fast. I'm going to have to do that again. Somewhere on there's a barcode, and I'm going to put that up here and just see if I can get this barcode. It's kind of down there. Okay, so as I move this into view, it scans that barcode and it says, hey Ben, that's tomato passata that you've got there, and there's the image of it, and it retails at £1.20. Okay, let's reset that. Let's reset. I don't need to reset it. I could just go and click on barcode again. Let's go and do some stuff for this next product, which is chickpeas. Okay, so here's some chickpeas. We scroll around. You know, this tends to work pretty fast. The barcode's at the bottom there. So let's just go and take that. Oh, couldn't find that. Oh, couldn't filter report. Well, it looks like it's filtered it again. Let's go scan again that. Okay, now found those chickpeas, 99p. We'll do it one last time. We'll go and take these ones, my breakfast. So some wheat biscuits, basically a scam of Weetabix, this one, isn't it? There's the barcode at the bottom there. Bang, wheat biscuits, £2.23. Prices and everything are made up. But again, quite a neat feature that we can just go and, you know, scan in some barcodes. So again, the scenario for this, plainly you could do this in a shop and it would be great, but you might have some plant or some kit that you attach barcodes to that are on site, that, you know, you could scan the barcode and you could quickly get up some data that tells you perhaps when this piece of plant was last serviced, which cost center it belongs to. All, you know, you can just imagine all of that sort of data you could get at very, very, very quickly. Okay, so that's kind of scanning barcodes and things like that. Let's come out of here. Get a mouse back. It does mess up the mouse a little bit, this application. Let's just close it down then. Should be able to get a mouse back somewhere. Yeah, there we go. Okay, nip back